Mondo Zen is a modernization, it's an updating, it's a consolidation and a compression of an ancient, ethnocentric, traditional practice of meditation practice and philosophical and emotional reorganization. Right? And it's a compressed version of that, an updated and modern perspective. And so Mando is based upon the old koan system, a Chinese koan system of enigmatic questions that appear to be confusing. They're questions that can be only answered when you come to a deep realization of the true deep nature of your own spirit, or your own Buddha nature, or your own consciousness. Right? And so the Mando process is a way to enter into that. It requires a practice of concentration and introspection, which injuncts or induces a deep state of meditative awareness. And once that's established, then what we do is we enter into a dialogue process for identifying and understanding and stabilizing that insight and putting in place a philosophical and a neurolinguistic structure, an actual mental structure that allows us to access that state. And once we accomplish that, and we've come to the stability of mind and insightful mind and know what we're talking about deep consciousness or Zen consciousness or Buddha consciousness, once we have that experience and we have the language and we can access that state through the use of language, then we've accomplished the first step in the Mando process, which is the actual development of insight and stabilization and access of that insight. It's a shift perspectively from egocentric to conscious perspective. So I'm still a fully functioning, ignorant ego, but I now have insight into the nature and the ability to stabilize and remain in a pure state of consciousness or witnessing. Right? Once I've accomplished that, then we move to the second part, what I call meditation, why bother? So the Mando process then takes your life experience and allows you to take a look at your emotional body as an informational body rather than in a feeling body, rather than as an emoting or a reactive body. So suddenly what happens is you develop into a mature relationship, you change your understanding in relationship to feeling. And here's where we move into the Mando as an emotional koan process of the riddle. We ask questions from this deep clarity of mind. What is the nature and intention and function of your feeling body? From this perspective, what Mando does is allows you to experience feeling purely and fundamentally and firstly as information. Feeling is information, right? How you react to that information, right, it can be problematic. If you're confused about the nature, intention, and function of feeling and you start emoting, for instance, we relate to from this depth of clarity of mind and we see feeling, when we experience anger, what we're experiencing is a violent act. And from this perspective, that's not even a feeling. What it is it's a violent reaction to a feeling. So if we develop enough insight into the nature, true nature of our mind, we'll discover that our feeling is part of an information system and our activity is problematic. For instance, anger is a violent intervention, right, based upon fear. Or shame is a violent introjection based upon a reaction to fear. What I'm really feeling is fear and also a degree of sadness. Always with fear comes a little bit of sadness or heaviness. And the reason that I'm reacting, the reason I'm afraid and a little bit sad is because I deeply, deeply, deeply care. So from this depth of quality of deconstructed ego and deconstructed mind and witnessing, I can now experience my emotional body for what it truly is. Information that allows me to get in touch with the deeper feelings of the fear and the sadness and the deep caring that's driving it all. And that is an enormous transformation in being. Suddenly, I'm literally free of anger as violence when I realize that I'm choosing those reactive patterns. So the Mondo Zen process is one of developing enough insight into the true clarity and nature of my deep consciousness and the superficial nature of my egocentric reactivity, right? And so suddenly I'm now free from anger. I'm free from shame when I recognize those are choices that I'm making. And then we put in place injunctions or koans where your life, your angst becomes your liberation. What used to upset you and cause you to act out hysterically and historically, like I like to say, now suddenly you have these incredible choices. You're in the caring and the deep concern and the feeling, and you understand it, and now you can respond intelligently. So you're free, you're liberated from confusion and pain and suffering.